Emergency contact. Who should we notify in the case of death? Welcome to the USP, where I spent the last 2+ decades of my life. Just putting the finishing touch on the tattoo shop. Putting the lights together. I'm not doing the electrical part, but I'm just assembling it so that way when the guys come in the morning, the stuff will be ready to go. I would put it, but I ain't trying to get myself shot. It's all that other stuff. But you know, it's like I said, it's been 18 months since I've been home, and it's been a hell of a ride, man. And I just want to, you know, give my gratitude and say my thanks and give the flowers to all those people that played a role in helping me stay out here, helping me shift my mentality, supporting the things that I'm trying to do. You know, I'm learning, like, when I changed my energy as far as doing things that were productive and positive, you find that there's a lot of people out here in your community that wants to help you out, you know. But they're not just gonna go out of their way to do something for you. They gotta see that you wanna do something for yourself. And when they see that you're out here grinding away, doing things positive and trying to better yourself and better your community, it's amazing how many people come out and wanna support that. So to all those people that's played a role in everything that I've been trying to do since I've been home, I just want to say thank you. That being said, you know, integrity, how you conduct yourself, the words that come out of your mouth is crucial. I mentioned before, like, if it wasn't on your mind, it wouldn't be in your mouth. Like, a lot of us, we're quick to say something about something, maybe call somebody out of their name or whatever, and then when we get called on it, and when it looks like it's gonna get crazy, all of a sudden, oh, we didn't mean that. All of a sudden, we're sorry. Well, if you didn't mean it, then why did you say it? Oh, I said it in the heat of the moment, or I was in my feelings. That was it. That's always the excuse, you know. But I've been in heated conversations with people. I've had disagreements with people, but I've always been conscious of the things that I say, because there's just certain words that once it's spoken out loud, can't be retrieved. You know, in the Bible, they tell you, Jesus says something about when somebody asked him about, well, what about these people eating swine? Because, you know, in the Old Testament, they said that, you know, swine isn't good to eat, right? So when somebody asks, you know, trying to put somebody on blast, like one of the Jews that might eat swine or whatever, and Jesus said, you know, be more conscious of what comes out of your mouth as opposed to what goes in it. It's not verbatim, but he's saying, don't worry about so much of what you put into your mouth, but worry more about what comes out of it. And, you know, everything we say now is just a play on those words. So that leads me to a story. You know, I mentioned my buddy Hennessy the other day about, you know, what he went through and how he conducted himself and how he upheld the laws and the codes that he signed up for. Now, when he got transferred, he ended up in Pollock, right? So, you know, all of us, when we get in there and we become friends, we give each other's numbers and connects and all that stuff so we can stay in touch. You know, for me, I do a pretty good job at staying in touch with some of the people in there, but there's other people that I would like to stay in touch with, but because of their affiliation, you know, their letters and their emails and their phone calls get scrutinized, and it's just better that I relay my messages to them through a third party. But, you when Hennessy went to Pollock, something had happened. And one of the homies, June, he was another NF. You know, he came up and was like, hey man, I was like, you know, cause I asked him, I was like, hey man, what's up with Henny, man? What's going on with him? He's like, man, I don't know. I got word that something had happened, right? And so we're waiting, cause you know when people come, when rumors start spreading around, you know, if I tell you a story, let's say, oh, I got in a fight with two people jumped me. The next guy's gonna relate a story. It's like, oh, Mason got jumped by 3. You know, by the time it gets all the way to the end of the line, I'm fighting a whole mob. You know, and so everything always gets exaggerated or misconstrued and so forth. So you have to just start, when you hear rumors and stuff, you just have to evaluate what they are and try to figure out what the truth is. Because somewhere along the line, there's some truth to it. So to the story with Henny, we ended up finding out what happened to him when a guy from Pollock came, and that was in the block that Hennessy was in. Because when he got over there to Pollock, you know, we're still going through the COVID lockdown and all that stuff. And when you come off, he stayed in the shoe for a few months before he got shipped out. So when he got over there, you know, when he got over there, they had a unit, like a quarantine unit, where they housed him in before they let him out into the population. And Hennessy, he likes to smoke that deuce. Like, everybody in there has some type of vice. When you're in a penitentiary, there's only very few people that don't have any vice, you know? If somebody doesn't smoke weed, they're doing meth. If they're not doing meth, they're doing heroin. And if they're not doing that, they're smoking cigarettes or they're drinking. Like, most people have some type of vice. And me and Hennessy, we used to sit up and smoke together. You know, we used to smoke that K2 together. And so when he got over there, you know, there was a guy, a black dude, that had to work. So Hennessy is, you know, they're on lockdown, so you can't get to the phone and move your money around when you want to. You have to wait till whenever you come out for your lockdown, and then once you put the word out there, when you call your people to have them do things, you know, they have a busy life and they got to get around to it to do what they need to do, right? So he had owed this guy some money. So him and his native dude was supposed to, you know, had been doing business with this black dude, and they had owed the black guys some money. Well, Hennessy had his half of the money. I think, you know, the bill was about maybe $500 or something like that. So this is a story that's related to me from one of the dudes that got transferred from Pollock and ended up in Florence with us. You know, every time you come off the bus, people find out where you're from. You know, one, people's hitting you up, like, who are you? Why are you here? Why you get transferred? So on and so forth. Then after that, they go into like, hey, what unit you was in over there? Did you see my homeboy over there? This and that. And they had, when the dude left, Hennessy knew that he was coming to Florida. So Hennessy sent some word through him to his people. So that's why I know, like, the information that I'm about to share with you, we'll just say is 90% accurate, right? Because you never know. But, you know, me knowing Hennessy, I know he's not the type of person to put extras on it or to make shit up, you know. So the word gets back to us. They come, the dude comes and he goes and finds the Norteños or the NF and tells them they got a message from Hennessy. Because really, the one thing about the Nostra Familia, they're about their policy. Like, they got real strict rules, codes of conduct that they expect all their members to abide by. And if you deviate from that, you're quick to get punished for it. And that's like, of all the gangs that I've ran into throughout my time in the penitentiary, the Norteños or the NF, they're one with the strictest rules, codes of conduct. One being that in the federal system, they're outnumbered. You know, there might be a lot of them in Northern California, right? But they're not spread out as like the Sureños or whatever amongst other states. And in the USP, the Norteños don't have a USP in California. So they get shipped out all across the country, to the East Coast, to Texas, to wherever, because they gotta keep them separated from the Black Hand. And like, as far as gangs are concerned or whatever, the Sureños has the most people in the system. They got, on every yard, they got hundreds, you know. So that being said, none of the Norteños have a yard as far as USP is concerned that they can walk that's out in California, because all the California yards are full of Sureños. And, you know, they got FCIs and stuff that they go to or whatever. So they get shipped out of state, and they get shipped all out throughout the different prisons on the East Coast, the Midwest, and so on and so forth. So when they end up on these other prisons that's outside of California, in those other states, they have a lot of people that are from around that area that are from a particular gang that outnumbers them. Like when we was in Florence, at the most, there was maybe 10 to 14 Norteños on the yard. The rest were, as far as the gangs were concerned, were the TS and the Mexican Mafia. So they have these real strict rules on how they expect their members to conduct themselves. One is to really ensure their own safety, as far as if they gotta go to war, they know they're gonna be outnumbered, right? So if they gotta go to war, they wanna go to war, put their life on the line because of something that's worth it, not because you're running around being goofy, owing people money, not paying it, or disrespecting people, or all the rest of it. So like in my experience, you know, in the system, the Norteños have one of the strictest rules that they expect their members to follow. Now, that being said, over this incident, Hennessy and this native dude, they ran up a bill that owed this black guy that they were buying, the deuce from. So they split, they're going splitting the bill, 50-50. So Hennessy's got to send $250, and the native dude's got to send $250. But everything is under Hennessy's name, because the black dude, he was kind of skittish about dealing with the native bro. But knowing that Hennessy was from Nostra Familia, they have a reputation of, being a man that keeps their word. Because like I said, they're quick. Like if somebody comes to, whatever NF that has the yard and talk about, hey, one of your homies owe me money, the NF that's in charge, the organization, they'll come together and they'll be like, let's just say, for example, one of them owes somebody, $500, $600, $1,000, or whatever it is. And this guy's supposed to be paying it for however, making payments, or supposed to have paid it whenever they're supposed to have paid it. And he's late for whatever reason. If this other race goes up to the speaker, the representative of the NF, and say, hey man, your homie been owing me money. He said he's supposed to pay me this, and that. They'll be like, well, what does he owe you? They'll be like, well, he owes us $1,000. So what the NF, and I can say this because I've seen it done, right? So the NF will say, don't worry about it, we'll pay it. And they'll go and pay the bill. But then they'll go to their respective homie and be like, hey, we paid your bill, this is gonna be an issue. We know you ain't got the money right now, so you're gonna make payments and so forth to pay the family back. And when he doesn't, they're gonna look out for the homie unless, if the homie steal, if you do those one things where there's just a black and white line, then there's no conversation about it. But if it's a homie, they know, yeah, he's probably has some little habits or whatever, and maybe got beyond his means, they're not just gonna be so quick to, X him out. So they're gonna pay his bill to keep the peace, but then they're gonna go to the homie and be like, hey, you gotta take care of this, you owe the family back plus interest. And they're gonna explain the payment and whatever to him, and he's gonna be able to decide if he's able to afford that payment or not, and take care of it or not. So if he doesn't take care of it at the appointed time, then there's no more second chances. They're gonna butcher him. Or if he goes back and runs that bill up again after the family already covered him, they're not gonna have a conversation with him no more. They don't give you too many opportunities, but if you're a good dude, they're gonna give you an opportunity to, clean your face and make things right. So back to with the case with Henny, he got out on his hour out and had his girl send $250, his half to the black dude. And then the native bro was supposed to send the other $250, but the native bro only sent like $100 instead of the $250. So Hennessy is in the cell next to the black dude. The native, he's a few more cells down. So Hennessy, so the black dude is talking to the vent, to one of his other homeboys, because they're over there hustling. The black dudes at the time had the sack, so everybody that's trying to get high or whatever, trying to get some work, got to go through them. And Hennessy overhears the black dude in a conversation about, because I guess one of his homies was asking, well, the other black dude's homie was asking him about, hey man, who's good on business, man? I got some work, this and that. Who should I fuck with? Because even though some people, they have their rule, oh, don't give credit and all that stuff, you can't really, when you're at the if you're wholesaling, yeah, you don't need to give credit because the people that's coming to you is gonna have money up front because they're getting it from you, and then they're gonna turn around and hustle it, But when you're at the last leg of it, where you're breaking it down and just serving like little nickel and dime bags, then credit is just part of the game. But you get to pick and choose who you want to give the credit and stuff to, right? So the black dude, one of his homeboys, is asking him about, hey man, who's good? Who should I fuck with? This and that, trying to find out who he can, sell his product to. Well, the black dude that Henny owes money to or had been doing business with him, he's like, yeah, man, don't fuck with these dude. These bitch motherfuckers supposed to have sent me, 500 and they only shot me 350, this and that. He wasn't saying the name or anything. He wasn't saying it was Hennessy or the native dude or whatever. But the thing was, he was saying these bitch motherfuckers. Yeah, don't fuck with these bitch motherfuckers. They had owed me money. They supposed to send this, send that. Now, one thing with Hennessy, he's a little dude, right? But he ain't no slouch. You know what I mean? He didn't get made for the sake of getting made. He got made because his people felt that he was worthy of the patch, that he had lived up to it, and that he earned it. And he didn't earn it by saying that he earned it. He didn't earn it by saying he was down. Like, he has he has a track record of being that dude. So Hennessy, when he heard the black dude over the vent talking about, these bitch ass dudes didn't do this, didn't do that, the rest of it was out the door for him. From Hennessy's perspective, was this dude just called him a bitch, right? And one thing about Hennessy, he's not gonna sit there and woof through the vent and be like, oh, bitch, motherfucker, why you use a bitch? Or he's not gonna go back and forth like that. And a lot of serious dudes aren't gonna go back and forth, calling you out your name or anything. And it's real simple with these type of dudes. It's like, for whatever, we could have a disagreement, we could have a misunderstanding, and we can come to the table and talk about it as men. But once you call somebody outside their name, you're telling that person that you want to fight, and you're also telling that person that you don't respect him. Because if you have any type of respect for me, then the word bitch, lame, punk would never came out of your mouth when you're addressing me. So since you use those words to address me or to talk about me, then that shows me you have no respect for me. And for me, if you don't got no respect for me, and then you go and disrespect me, then I'm gonna feel some type of way that I gotta deal with this shit. Because there's just certain things where it's black and white. There's a lot of gray areas, but when it comes to certain things, it's black and white. And one of them is calling somebody outside of their name. Out here on the street, you get dudes that call each other bitches and hoes when they argue and this and that all the time, And sometimes these people have a habit when they get locked up that think that they can still continue to do that. Because when they call somebody a hoe, somebody a bitch out here, nothing's happening to them. So they bring these bad habits into the penitentiary, get in a disagreement with somebody, or when they're just talking about, or when they're venting and talking about somebody, and instead of, being, using the person's name, they want to call them a bitch or a hoe, they get a rude awakening. So once that word left out of that dude's mouth to people like Hennessy and others like him, like me, like there's no going back on that. You can't apologize for that, because this is really what you think. This is really what you think of me. You think I'm a hoe. You think I'm a bitch. So what is there to talk about, right? Because now, if I don't do nothing to you, then I must be a hoe. I must be a bitch. So my only option is to let you know I ain't what you think I am. And the only way I can emphasize that point is to run up on you. So Hennessy bid his time, because when you're on lockdown, they let a few cells out at a time to come shower, because they weren't locked down for any incident that happened between any group. So when you're just on COVID lockdown, they're just going around popping, maybe the bottom tier or the top tier, or they might split the units into fours and let a quarter out, so on and so forth. So a few days later, or the next time they come out, Hennessy and the black dude, his neighbor, that was just on the vent talking about these bitch ass dudes, this and that, happened to, was out there in the day room together to have their hour out to shower, use the phone and email and whatever. Well, Hennessy already made up his mind already. He already know what he's gonna do, right? So the word got back that that Hennessy was in the shoe in Pollock because of an incident. And the incident turned out that when they let them out for their hour, Hennessy ran up on dude and just went to work. In there, you're like, oh, how did he get a hold of a knife? You're stuck in a cell. Well, there's a lot of things that you could use for a knife, but the main thing that people use, you can get a nail clipper. Nail clipper is stainless steel, and the bunkers is metal. So stainless steel, if you have something that's harder than what you're trying to cut, you can cut the knives out of the bed. You can scrape it. You can even use, and I've seen it, paper clip, a stapler. You sharpen up the stapler and you just make grooves on the bed. Yeah, it's gonna take you a minute, but you work at it, eventually you're gonna be able to cut through that bunk. And I don't know what Hennessy used to cut through the bunk. I don't know if somebody passed him one, but I know he ended up with one. And when he came out, the words that was that he came out of the cell and ran up on dude and punished him, put holes in him. And it all because, one, the dude didn't understand, he didn't have all his facts, right? I know that people owed him money, but from Hennessy's perspective, he paid his issue already, but the native bro, didn't take care of everything that he was supposed to take care of. But instead of coming back to dude and be like, hey man, you didn't send me the 5, you only sent me 350, and letting the native dude and Hennessy figure out what was going on, or let Hennessy deal with the native dude, he jumped on the vent and called these dudes a bunch of bitches. And for that, he almost lost his life. That's why I say, integrity means it's every aspect of your life, man. It's just, you can have a disagreement with people, but you can have a disagreement and convey your point of view, your side of the story, without ever having to cross the line to where it's disrespectful or put someone in a defensive position or put someone in a corner. Because once you put someone in a corner, the only way out is through you. When I get into arguments with people in there, when I get into a disagreement with somebody, I always make sure I leave room that we can resolve it. Now, if I know the incident can't be resolved, then I'm not gonna have that conversation. But the fact that we're having a dialogue, we're engaging in this conversation, is because there's room to resolve it. When a dude ran into my cell with a knife, I know there's no room for dialogue. If I go over there and try to talk to him and try to ask him, man, why you do that? Man, please don't do that again. The next time you do that, I'm gonna have to do something to you. All that looks to the people around me is that I'm a bitch. He already crossed this line. And there's only one thing that's expected of me to do if I want to continue doing my time the way I want to do it. So when that dude came in my room and violated, my space like that, I had no other option but to do one thing. And I ended up doing the thing that I did. Put him in the hospital for 3-4 days in ICU, punctured his lungs. But it wasn't something that I say to glorify what I did or that I'm proud that I did it. It's just, at the end of the day, man, being in the penitentiary, being in the system that we are in, the environment that we are in, and the mentality that 99% of those people have, you have one job. My job was to survive. My job was to come home intact and whole. And whatever that took to achieve that, that's what I was gonna do. Because if I allow somebody to disrespect me, then the wolves is gonna line up. If I allow somebody to take something from me, they're gonna line up looking for what else they can take from me. If I allow one person to disrespect me, then nobody else around me is gonna have any respect for me. And it's gonna make my time hard. So a lot of things that I've done when I was in the penitentiary was things that I felt was necessary to ensure my own safety, my well-being, and my peace of mind. Welcome to USP.